The year had finally come. The snow began falling in mid-October of 1572, and Takeda Shingen began advancing his armies from Totomi province across into Mikawa. Feeling fully confident after a string of successful campaigns against the Usagi and Hajo clans in the south, the Takeda felt they could contest the Oda in a power struggle over Kyoto. There was no doubt in Shingen's mind and heart that he would come to conquer Kyoto and become the new champion for the shogunate. Ashikaga Yoshiki had also been in communications in secret with Shingen and sending messages through his own personnel instead of the Oda messengers. Yoshiki told Shingen that the Oda were distracted by the Asai and Asakura clans in Echizen, and that this was an opportune time to march for a major siege at Kyoto. Takeda Shingen gathered 30,000 troops and began mobilizing into Matsudora lands. Within 3 months, the Takeda managed to capture Yoshide and Futamata castles on the eastern front of Mikawa. Daimyo Ieyasu stationed his army of 8,000 troops at Hamamatsu Castle and demanded urgent reinforcements from Oda Nobunaga, which Nobunaga initially sent a lackluster reinforcement group of 3,000 troops to Mikawa. Shingen began maneuvering his armies around Mikawa in hopes of drawing out the larger war party at Hamamatsu. Ieyasu refused to allow the Takeda to freely move around his territory unchecked, and so the two armies met at the snowy hills of Miketagahara. After a few skirmishes back and forth throughout the morning and into the afternoon, the snow began to precipitate, which led to the Oda and Matsudera arquebus muskets to jam and become inefficient during the battle. The Takeda charged fiercely at the musket units and took out several experienced Oda Matsudera gunner units. Ieyasu ordered a retreat as soon as the 1st Cavalry broke through the front ranks. As both sides regrouped, the Takeda followed up with a 2nd Cavalry charge, with a fresh group of samurai cavaliers. The Matsudera lost heavy and important casualties, as a good portion of Matsudera generals were caught at the tail end of the retreat, and most of the loyal retainers ended up going back to rescue their generals, but would perish during the attempt. Ieyasu, though, returned to Hamamatsu Castle with only 5 of his men. He immediately ordered his servants to light the braziers and to beat the war drums to guide the remaining retreating force back to the castle. The Takeda saw the fires and heard the war drums, and believed it to be a trap that the Matsudera would hope that they would bite into. So the Takeda set up camp instead. As the battered Matsudera troops made their way back to their own castle, Ieyasu took note in which troop types were returning, and would also calculate how injured an individual was. After several hours of resting and organizing his troops into the early morning, Ieyasu ordered a surprise attack on the Takeda camp. Ieyasu gathered 100 foot soldiers and 16 matchlock arquebus troops to come raise hell on the Takeda camp. This attack would also feature one of the greatest ninja warriors in Sengoku history, the Oni, Hattori Hanzo. The small war party caused mass confusion and casualties for the Takeda, as the Takeda thought that there were more troops than just 116 in the attacking force, and so they retreated. Shingen would brood over the treacherous tactics of the Matsudera, and immediately wanted to avenge his fallen troops. In late January of 1573, Shingen advanced his army further into Mikawa, to Nara Castle. Nara Castle had defense renovations and a moat added for extra defenses in the last 2 years. Shingen's siege experience led to his brilliant idea of ordering his sapper corps, or mining unit, to tunnel under the castle's moat and to drain it, creating a foundation to securely place the ladders to accelerate the siege. Takeda Shingen managed to capture Nara Castle due to a surrender, but it would be won at a high cost for the Takeda. It is highly debated that 2 circumstances might have happened to Shingen during this siege. The first was that he caught or might have developed a form of cancer, or the second most agreed upon theory, which is that Shingen approached Nara Castle and was hit by a sniper around his stomach area. This would eventually lead to the Tiger of Kai's death in the following month. When his rival Usagi Kenshi heard about Shinjin's passing, the dragon is quoted as saying, quote, "I have lost my good rival. We won't have a hero like that again." End quote. The Takeda retreated out of Mikawa to settle a succession dispute and to grieve over the loss of their heroic daimyo. For the Matsudaira and Oda, this was a tremendous miracle that the most fierce, formidable, and tactically gifted opponent that they had to face was deceased, and the clan had temporarily removed them from seeking power over a disheveled and manipulated state of the shogunate. After hearing the news, the Demon King was shocked and in disbelief. Nobunaga was still campaigning in Echizen, but this news gave him something to laugh at and to celebrate his incredible fortune. Unknowingly, though, his own luck was running out, as envy began to grow in the hearts of some of his closest allies.